When it comes to items in Deadlock, the balance is always changing. With Deadlock being early in development, patches are frequent. One of the most instrumental items for 7 previously has been Magic Carpet. It allowed 7 to push side lanes without retribution. However, changes to the map as well as the items that interact with Magic Carpet mean that it's no longer as viable for 7 at the moment. Not to mention the game-breaking bug with Magic Carpet for 7. In this video, we take a look at the current best builds for 7, as well as just a general updated strategy guide for him considering the recent changes. My name is Drongo, this is your Deadlock, let's get to it. So before we take a look at the new builds, let's just talk a little bit about Magic Carpet and why it doesn't really work on 7 at the moment. The first reason why is because of Ethereal Shift being nerfed. Previously with Ethereal Shift, you used to be able to cancel it at any time. However, now you need to wait the entire 3-second duration and there's no option to cancel it. This means that if you're pushing a walker on the edge of the map and an enemy comes up to you and you cast Magic Carpet and then Ethereal Shift, you have to wait the entire duration of that Ethereal Shift and then you can fly away. This significantly reduces the amount of time you actually have in flight and your ability to actually escape from the opponent. Long gone are the good old days of just being able to cast Magic Carpet, Ethereal Shift, and then cancel that Ethereal Shift the moment Magic Carpet is finished. The second reason why Magic Carpet has fallen off is because of the map redesign and the positioning of the teleporters. The teleporters previously were in awkward positions, but they've made them a lot more accessible in this current version of the map. Because of their accessibility, it means rotations come through a lot faster and you're not going to get nearly as many sneaky walkers as you used to be able to. So I really think that the value proposition for Magic Carpet has gone down quite a lot, especially when you combine it with the third reason why. Now, I suspect this is probably going to get fixed once Valve become aware of it, but Magic Carpet is currently bugged with 7. Let's say you're pushing a side lane and all of a sudden an enemy approaches you. You cast your stun on that enemy, you run away and you cast Magic Carpet. Magic Carpet channels and you begin to fly away. The moment that your stun pops, your carpet will cancel. For whatever reason, the game is considering this an action. If we were to compare this to an item such as Knockdown, which knocks down a target and then stuns it after a short 2-second delay, it doesn't have the same effect. I can cast Knockdown on a target, I can get on my Magic Carpet, and I can fly away, and it doesn't get interrupted, which makes me think this is probably a bug. So I've made sure to go ahead and report it to Valve. I was actually wondering for a long time why it kept cancelling. I would go back and review my recordings to see what would happen, and I could never find a reason why. I figured I was just fat fingering the crouch key or the spacebar. So it's great to know that I wasn't actually going crazy, and there was a reason it was happening. So let's move on to the next portion of the video where we talk about the current 7 meta, the way to build him, the skill build, all that good stuff. So just quickly, the current skill build for 7 is putting 1 point in all 3 of our basic skills, then maxing out ball, then maxing out our power surge, then maxing out our stun, and then maxing out our ultimate last. While it could be tempting to just put all of your points into ball as quickly as possible, my justification for it is there's only a small difference between 8 ability points and 10 ability points of 1,000 souls, and by putting those 2 points in your stun as well as in your power surge, it makes your laning phase easier. It enables you to have kill potential on your opponent as well. It means your stun is going to be coming up more often so that you can get into more engagements, and it also means that you're just going to be doing more damage with your kit because your 3 now has more spirit resist on it. But I can also understand the other side where you just want to max ball because the sooner you get it max, then the sooner you start farming like a farm god, so I understand that approach as well. So let's take a look at items. After items, we'll be talking about what the game plan and what the strategy is and how things have changed recently. So starting off with items, we're still very much focused on the jungling phase for 7 and building up for that jungle phase. This is the current build that I use for 7. Just to explain a couple of the reasons why we pick up these items. So monster rounds, extra spirit, and sprint boots all have health regen on them. These are going to help you stay in the lane for a little bit longer. If you've got a hard lane, you've always got the option to pick up extra regen. Sometimes I will find myself picking this up as my first item, and that is perfectly fine. But at all costs, we want to stay in the lane and we want to survive until we can get into the jungle. Extra stamina is great for helping us get around the map, especially with the recent change to boxes and statues, and it obviously also helps us get to jungle camps a little bit faster. I don't think I need to explain extra charge to you guys. You guys will understand why that's so important. And basic magazine is another one of those where it's just such a great item. It's a really good first pickup because it gives you that significant damage increase from the get-go, and of course gives you more bullets to help you clear out the wave. And then finally, to round out the laning items, it's Soul Shredder bullets and Mystic Vulnerability. You get a 10% Spirit Am from Soul Shredder bullets as well as Lifesteal. From Mystic Vulnerability, you're getting the minus 12% Spirit Resist, so these both combine to help you kill things very quickly. After that, we're looking to hit our goal of rapid recharge, but we're just going to make sure that we fill out all the item slots in between. So Enduring Spirit's going to provide you just a nice steady stream of lifesteal coming through, as well as extra health to make sure that in the event that you do get ganked, you should have a little bit of extra health to keep you alive. Mystic Reach is great because it allows you to hit camps that you previously wouldn't be able to hit, so that's really important to pick up. And then finally, Rapid Recharge, which has become, for me, the most core item possible on 7 in the most recent patch. Initially, I was apprehensive about it. I said to myself, well, do you really need Rapid Recharge in the first place? Like, you pretty much got everything that you need with Extra Charge. But then I started running the numbers on it. It's obviously great for when you're farming, to be able to have a 3-second cooldown between each of your balls, to just walk onto a camp and think to yourself, you know what, it's just one ball. I don't care about it. When you're more conserving your charges when you've only got Extra Charge. But the true power from Rapid Recharge is your ability to team fight. I found myself in big team fights where I've had 5 or 6 lightning balls, and it just feels so good when you're able to combine it together with all the other things that 7 does to be able to put out that much damage so quickly and efficiently with Rapid Recharge. It is just absolutely core to his kit, in my opinion. At this point in the build, you've got an optional item that you can pick up. I don't think that it's worth it. I think our balls are big enough, but if you want to get bigger balls, then go for it. You can pick up Improved Reach. Of course, you've already got Mystic Reach, so it's really simple to pick up. It just goes straight in the same item slot. You don't have to think about flex slot, so that is great. It's also great if you go into this item to just team fight a lot more, because you're going to have bigger balls. It means it's going to be harder for people to escape from them. But if you are going down this route, I would say you're probably playing a different style of 7. It's more of like a mage caster route of 7, where you're not too much focusing on your power surge and more just focusing on your lightning ball. You would look to get items like Escalating Exposure first, because this is going to stack up really well with the balls. And the fact that they're so big and you've got them so often, it means you're going to get huge escalation exposure stacks on the enemy. So continuing on with the current 7 build, after that we move into Fleet Foot and Enduring Speed, which is going to help us out with movement, just getting around the map. And at this point, we have our first flex option, and that is for Spirit Lifesteal. It is best that you save this for the flex slot. You can technically go it earlier. However, I don't really think giving up Enduring Spirit for a very meager gain on the Spirit Lifesteal is really that worth it, and it's probably just better off waiting for that slot. So after Spirit Lifesteal, we take quite a bit of inspiration here from Michael S. I know a lot of people will refer to him as Mikhail S because that's how it looks like it's pronounced, but I went on his stream, I asked him how it's pronounced, and he said it's pronounced Michael S. So that's how I'm going to pronounce it, because that's what he said. So moving into Improved Spirit and then into Boundless Spirit. Boundless Spirit has always been a great item on 7. The only issue is it's expensive, and the items that came before it weren't that good. In the most recent patch, both of them were buffed. Both Extra Spirit and Improved Spirit were both buffed. So it means that that jump up to Boundless Spirit is a lot easier to stomach now. Boundless Spirit is a significant power spike for you as 7. Normally you can aim to get it about the 19 to 20 minute mark, and this is the point where you can actually just start team fighting. It's important to note, because of the way that 7 works and the fact that he is so good at farming, that the longer the game goes and the more farm that you get, the more ahead you're getting everybody else. So naturally we want to push this number up as high as we can without our teammates getting angry at us. But the fact that we can come online at 20 minutes and participate in team fights and actually have a significant impact on the game state, well, let's just say it feels relieving to be able to be there for our teammates. The next item I'm looking for after Boundless Spirit is Spiritual Overflow. This is an incredible item, has great stats for 7, and it is a massive team fight item. Once you get this, it is just so damn difficult to kill you. And if you are having trouble with the enemy team, maybe they've got a lot of lockdown or they've got a Moe and Krill, you can go into Unstoppable after Boundless instead of going into Spiritual Overflow. The sooner you've got Unstoppable, the sooner you can take team fights on cooldown. There's really nothing better than hearing Wraith ulti and know that it's coming for you, and then just popping that Unstoppable and just absolutely destroying her. You wouldn't be able to do that if you had Spiritual Overflow. You'd be dead. So after this, we're looking to go into Surge of Power. We're obviously putting this on our Power Surge. From there, we're going to look to go to Mystic Slow. Mystic Slow is great on 7 because whenever you've got your Power Surge up, it's going to put that slow onto anybody that gets hit by your lightning. One of the things I often do at this point, instead of going into Escalating Exposure, is just going into Leech. I find that normally I'm getting focused down, and having Leech in addition to Spirit Lifesteal and Enduring Spirit can mean that my lifesteal is absolutely crazy. Whereas had I gone into Escalating Exposure, sure, I'd be doing more damage, I'd be killing my enemies quicker, and I'd probably be lifestealing more with the items that I had with Escalating Exposure, but with Leech, there is just really no parallel to keeping you alive. After that, it is your raid boss items. Keep in mind that if you're having trouble with a specific type of damage, so let's say they've got a whole bunch of spirit damage, then just pick up basic spirit armor early on. The vitality items that we're picking up in the early game, like extra stamina, enduring spirit, extra health, all 3 of these can be pretty easily replaced with 1250 items if that is going to be conducive in your circumstances. So if there is a situational vitality item that you want to pick up, something like debuff reducer or reactive barrier, definitely conselling one of those 500 soul vitality items. Okay, so that concludes the item section of this video. Let's talk a little bit about just sort of general game plan for 7 at the moment and sort of what your goals are in the early game. So we'll break it up into 4 different phases. The first one is the laning phase, the second one is the jungling, the third one is the team fighting, and then the fourth one is the raid boss stage. During your laning phase, the most important thing for you is to survive. Some heroes, like for example Talon, needs to kill the opponent, or really badly wants to kill the opponent. That's his win condition. But for 7, your win condition is just to survive, and that's why a lot of the items that we purchase in the early game have got health regen on them, because it helps us stay in the lane and it helps us get farm. So that's the first thing. The second thing is farm. I just want to mention denying briefly, but just at the moment, the way that the current mechanics work, it's not really favorable to try and deny souls away from someone who's contesting them quite regularly. Of course, if you picked up high velocity mag and you're pushing their tower with the ball and they're sitting pretty far back from the tower and they're killing the troopers and you're able to get the last hits, of course you're going to take those denies, but I wouldn't say to prioritize it. I would say instead to try and confirm your 4 troopers absolutely every single wave, and then in between those waves you need to be looking for things to do. At 2 minutes is when you've actually got your first opportunity to do something other than laning. So I always like to push the wave right before 2 minutes, make sure I've killed all the troopers, and then if the enemy has a jungle camp, I look to move into position to be able to take that jungle camp from them. Normally I'll clear out the next wave and maybe the next wave after that, and then I'll go back and clear my own jungle camp. Throughout this, if I'm close to boxes or statues, I'll make sure that I weave them in as well. Once it gets to the 5-minute mark, that's when you can start to think a little bit more about the jungle camps. It's going to depend on which lane you're in and how aggressive your enemy is, but ideally we want to try and clear at least one jungle camp in between those creep waves where we've got an opportunity to do it. Worst case scenario, if you can just get away from the lane, drop a ball down, and then just head on back, there's nothing that stops you from just going back and finishing it off after the next wave as well, so just doing it slowly in increments. The next key timing that you want to be looking for is the 8-minute mark. At 8 minutes, you want to make sure that you're positioned in a way that guarantees you're going to have access to slot machines. These are by far the best camps that you can take this early on in the game. They're super duper easy to take and they give so many souls. On top of that, the soul sharing mechanics change at the 8-minute mark, so before 8 minutes, you will share souls with one other person in your lane and you'll get full value from each trooper that you kill. After the 8-minute mark, you will share those souls with other people that are around, so it just becomes a lot more beneficial for you to be in the jungle rather than to be in a lane, because when you're in a lane, you're sharing with people, versus when you're in a jungle, you just get 100% of the souls. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm still clearing lanes, and even if there's a person there, you better believe I'm showing up and making sure I'm going to take my share of the souls, but after that 8-minute mark, I will be very keenly focused on the jungle. After that 8-minute timing, the next key timing is the 10-minute timing. The most important thing here is just to make sure that we pick up the buffs. You're probably not going to like what I say next, but this is just the sort of position 1 player mentality that is just expected from a 7 main. Don't run the urn, at least not yet. You can do it a little bit later on when you've got Boundless, when you've got Enduring Speed, when you've got Fleet Foot. Don't do it at the 10-minute mark at all. You need to be spending your time farming, you need to be spending your time increasing that soul count and scaling, because remember, you farm faster than anybody else, so any second that you waste, you're wasting more resources than any other player. And when it comes to dropping off the urn, look, it might be guaranteed, and okay, congratulations, but at the end of the day, someone else can do it. You're pos 1, you focus on farming. After the 10-minute mark, there's no real specific timeline or guideline or even guardrails to really tell you what to do or where to go, but here are some timings that I look for on the clock. So I'm looking at 15, 20, 25 minutes, just because I want to make sure that I'm able to pick up a buff. Other than that, I'm not really keeping track of when the slot machines actually respawn. It's just whenever I see them on the minimap, I will make sure that I beeline towards them, because the value that you get compared to other camps, they are just so much value for you early on when it's a bit harder to kill camps. Once you get improved spirit though, you're pretty much able to kill the tier 3 jungle camps very, very quickly and efficiently, so you should definitely look to focus those as well. Other than that, when it comes to the team fighting phase, as I said, normally you'd be looking to want to fight once you've got Boundless Spirit up. You can fight, you can wait until Spiritual Overflow, depends on the state of the game and how much your team is letting you farm, how much the enemy team is letting you farm. And then after the team fight phase, you've got the raid boss phase, and those two phases are distinct, because in the team fight phase, we always want to make sure that we're fighting around our team, we're with our team, and we're towards the backside of the team. We want to avoid initiation at all costs when we're playing 7. That is until the raid boss phase. Once you're in the raid boss phase, you typically are so far ahead of everybody else in the game in your power, because you're 7 and your 3 scales so effectively, you can quite literally 1v6 and not have any problem at all. When you've got items like Unstoppable, when you've got things like Soul Rebirth, it just means you can go into fights, you can start fights, wait for your enemy team to back you up, and even if you do end up going down, with Soul Rebirth, you're always going to be able to come back into those fights, and with Leech, you're always going to be able to lifesteal back up. If you've got armors, it's going to mean that you're a lot harder to kill as well. It just makes it very difficult for the enemy to actually keep you down. Of course, we still want to play around our team, but we don't have to wait at the back line anymore when we're at raid boss phase. Instead, we can just completely initiate for ourselves. Hopefully this video has given you a bit of insight as to how 7 has evolved after the last couple of weeks. Instead of putting this video out immediately after the patch and talking about the big changes to 7, I thought, you know what, let's wait for the dust to settle a little bit and see where things are going. And it seems like this build is going to be a pretty safe compromise between farming towards 2,000 souls a minute, but at the same time helping your team so they don't rage at you. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a like down below. If you disagreed with anything, then leave a comment, let me know why. And if you're looking forward to more Deadlock content, make sure you hit subscribe button. I've been Drongo. This is your Deadlock. Thank you for watching.